Alright folks, welcome to today's roundtable discussion. We all consume media, movies, news, social media, ads, and a lot more. But how often do we actually stop and question what we're consuming? That's where media content review comes in. And trust me, without it, we'd still think true love means stalking someone until they agree to date you. Before we dive into the discussion, let's introduce ourselves and share one thing that really stood out for us in this course. Something we think media needs to do better. I'll go first. I'm Shivanya, and for me, the biggest issue is representation. How the skin color bias and the same elite perspective keeps on going on over and over. It's time for something to change. Now, over to you, Shachi.
Hi, I'm Shachi, and one thing that really hit me is how skin color bias is still so deep in media. Like, we have come a long way, but Bollywood still loves making villain look dark skinned and the hero is fair. We need to break out of these outdated stereotypes.
And hi, I'm Sarah. So basically my thing that stood with me was how media and film industry basically portrays the toxic relationships in movies. So the possessiveness and the stalking is considered and shown as love and passion, whereas these are the red flags in the relationship we should look out for. So this needs to change. Stories should show healthy relationship, not obsessive ones.
Even for pacing for that matter.
Oh yeah,
Exactly. So hi everyone, I'm Srilekha. What stood out the most for me was the definition of elite class. Like every problem revolves around the elite people, be it the Tinakmeno or Tinakmeno Dubara. Like people are going out on cruise, that is not a middle class thing to do. And even in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, having friend trips, I agree friend trips. We all need friend trips. But for us it's Goa and for them it's Spain. So that is what stood out the most for me.
I am Uri, and for me, the problem is in advertising. The brands love using empowerment as a marketing tool, but at the end of the day, it's still capitalism. It's disguised as feminism. Like just the terrific ad, which was re-released right now. The roles were reversed, which is pretty cool. I found it very good.
the cricket ad, no?
Yeah, it was actually good.
Makes sense.
I love how the gender roles were reversed.
Hello guys, I'm Nada. So what I'd like to lay emphasis on is how media distorts reality, especially in legal proceedings and courtrooms. You don't have a lawyer screaming "Tariq pe Tariq" in real courtrooms. A proceeding happens and it goes on. That's it.
Yeah, like they don't threaten you with 2.5 kilo ka haath in the
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
These long monologues, they don't really exist.
Way to get suspended as well.
Hi guys, I'm Vidya, and my biggest takeaway would be how poorly women are represented in the media. They're just either love interests, moms, the girl who needs protection from heroes, and women deserve more depth than that. They deserve more personality, and media needs to do better.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not there to be saved.
I know. It's like they write these scripts without ever having a conversation with an actual woman.
Yeah,
There's no
exactly.
woman right
It's just
that
seduction.
goes overall.
It's just seduction, honestly.
And even like if we look at the movies earlier, maybe the society back then was like that, but now the scenario has completely changed. Women are a lot more empowered than they used to be. So I think with that, even the media should now change that.
Exactly.
Like one good example, I'm so sorry, but one good example would be English English. Like the way
Yeah.
they showed women empowerment and that was really nice.
Yeah, there was a dialogue कि you are made तुम लड्डू बनाने के लिए पैदा हुए.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It triggers us as young women
Yeah.
in the society.
And it was said in front of a lot of people, so that's
Also, Queen as a tool is
Yeah.
a great example. So, hi, I'm Raghavi. I want to say about the sequels. I want to say that the sequels used in the movie are actually pretty ridiculous. That sequels can be nobody asked for. So, for sequels, my example would be Blu-ray.
or race.
Yeah.
So racy.
or any Salman Khan movie. No one is
Yeah, but all of the Salman Khan movies are starting to look pretty similar to what they used to be.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Alright guys, great insights and it looks like we're off to a great start and this is really gonna entertain the viewers. So now let's get into why do we even need media content review? So over to you, Shachi.
Media content review is more like a fact checking, but for our brain. Like, if we don't analyze what we watch, we'll end up consuming and believing everything. It's like believing a WhatsApp message that says, someone's aunt is sending, NASA says the sun will turn blue tomorrow. No, not happening.
For that matter, like I remember around 2014 or something, there was this message that got really viral on WhatsApp that there will be a blackout of 3 days and the earth will end.
Like 24 months.
It also happened in 2024. The
Yeah.
people that the world is ending in 2024 and that there will be tsunamis coming and the world will end.
Even during COVID times, there was so
Yeah.
spread of information and everything.
All of this misinformation leads to so much of chaos.
Yeah.
Really.
That is why we need like media checks and
Fair enough, fair enough.
For me personally, it's like the influence media has.
Yeah.
So a good movie can make a huge amount of difference. A bad movie can make a huge amount of difference. A good example of this I can think of is that Tere Naam by Salman Khan. Exactly. Everyone after that movie had a bracelet of Salman Khan with the blue rhinestone, and they used to do their hair like this. And in that movie, Salman Khan was literally shown beating people and harassing the Radhani girl, and he was like following her, stalking her, and people started doing that because what else are you going to do? You don't have that amount of
And
money.
people started thinking that this is normal.
And this is that way.
If your love is rejected.
Yeah, and then उसके बाद ना वो नशे काट लेना.
Yeah, bigger.
Like trying to get suicidal.
Yeah, people became suicidal when they could not handle the rejection, and then they used to blame it on the woman.
Yeah.
So that influence can really mess things up.
Definitely.
coming down, what I can personally again is Bollywood needs to have better content. Movies like Lapata Ladies need to come out. 12th Fail need to come out. We need to show the reality of India and the Indian media. It's not Ambani like people.
Art needs to mirror the society in some way.
Not everyone has shit ton of money in their bank accounts.
Exactly.
Because this is what is influencing the younger generations as well. Like, younger generations see this, they don't think about it, and they start acting in that way. Like, exactly like Tere Naam. They started behaving that way. Despite not knowing what is actually right and wrong.
Even the movies that are being made for the younger generation, like the Khushi Ka movie, what is it?
Nania.
People don't talk like that in our generation. Why is it's like a woman making a movie for Gen Z? Don't talk like that.
18-year-olds don't look like that, so mature.
And they're school students, they're not even college students. Which school is like that? I don't know.
Kids who are younger than us, oh my god, they have shit ton of makeup on their faces, they have iPhones.
They are selling, like there was a scene in that movie where he was giving iPhone to people and like people are not that rich. Can you not do that?
There's only one section of the society that I feel is actually that elite. But that's not the entire
Yeah,
That's not the section that is watching the movie.
That is
Exactly.
watching that.
And they tend to normalize this behavior. The younger generation, they start to demand their parents for
Right.
At the end of the day, it's just capitalism being
So
sold
for
back.
our generation, we all grew up watching Student of the Year, and there was this image of college where we are going to be dancing to.
Kids, college, people are dancing to you.
People are going to sing.
People are stopping and looking at you.
I really thought मैं मेट्रो से आऊँगा, कड़ कमाल का बजेगा. No, that's
It
it.
does not happen.
That's not how it's.
The reality check we all got once we got
Yeah.
into
College
college.
was serious, yeah.
Fair.
Okay, for me, it is the media reviews that whenever an ad comes out, it's like uses fairness cream in the name of environment. It will make you fair. Like that's basically racism. What do you mean? Like using this cream will make mera kala skin fair.
Yeah, I changed my hair from black to blonde.
Exactly.
It's changing your hair also. Changing your hair. I don't know what's happening.
It's just whitewashing at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Again, that
In a
is
country which is full of brown people.
Exactly. Like the colonial mindset has seeped so deeply in post-colonized India that we still think that
White is
looking like a white mistress is what empowerment is.
Oh yeah. It's like I'm so good being a white woman.
yeah.
Well, it's this and that. No.
Often we, what do I say? Often we see that a white person is more successful
Yeah.
than a darker skinned person. Like there is some analogy that is with white or fair for that matter.
That
Which
they are always
is good
good.
and positive.
Yeah.
Even in like Shachi mentioned, even in the movies, the hero is always white
Yeah.
and the villain is always dark. Why is that so?
Yeah.
That is how media messes our brains up.
Also, I want to add a point that racism starts from me.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good point because our parents, in fact, our relatives, more of the relatives,
Yeah.
they say कि तुम लोग कितनी काली हो, तुम लोग
Especially towards women. It's like
Yeah,
it's such a big issue.
Yeah.
Guys, and it's not
That
that.
was fair.
I also remember there was this certain ad I had come across. I cannot recall the name, but there were so many stereotypes that came up. Not stereotypes, but requirements that came for a woman to be a potential bride or something like, oh, my son is so tall, why is your daughter so short?
In fact, we saw that itself in the matrimonial.
Exactly.
It was given that.
Also, I would like to say that most of the movies we see, the heroine is always so white and so gory. I have never seen a heroine
Even the
which is
songs.
एकदम brown, एकदम Indianish.
Even
जो
Kajol.
represent करती है India में
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, Kajol was brown, but she was whitewashed and
Yeah.
colored.
In fact, even songs, the song 47 Wait Kudi Tha,
Like,
Love 88 Kudi Tha,
Chittiya Kalaiya.
Chidiya. Basically, all of them somewhere directly or indirectly tell that how a woman should be enabled to be accepted in a society.
Okay, so interesting takes. I just want to pose a question to the table. Do you think it's only Bollywood that's whitewashing India? Because if you've seen maybe Bridgerton, the season 2 lead actress Simone Ashley, she's actually much darker than any of the lead actresses that you would see in Bollywood. So why do you think that's happening?
Because I think in that society, they have need representation should be there. So they don't view Indians as just white. They view Indians as brown.
Yeah.
Because collectively Indians are brown. So if I go there, they'll be like, oh my god, are you really Indian? Because you don't look that Indian as. But udhar bhi, I think there's also some kind of racism that Indians are only brown, which is not the case. So if a Northeast person would go there, they would not consider them as Indian. They would be like, oh my god, are you Chinese, Korean, Japanese, or something like that.
So media stereotyping people is not just limited to Bollywood, it's also a Hollywood phenomena, maybe
It's a global phenomenon.
It's a global phenomena.
Yeah.
That everyone, all kinds of media are stereotyping people into groups when in reality those groups are not as rigid as they're shown in media.
Often even Indians are represented very stereotypically in the Hollywood.
Thick accent.
Thick accents.
Thick
I
accent.
know.
Yeah.
The funny, the Indian accent which they think is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if we speak English, we don't speak it that way.
Yeah.
It's
kind of
We're talking right now and it sounds pretty
Yeah.
natural.
Yeah.
It's a very small section of Indians who probably speak that way, but not the entire India.
And also, if anybody has watched Friends,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
a scene when Indian scene,
Yeah.
basically that Indian guy comes and Rachel makes not fun of him, but the Indian accent. Yeah. So I think that is also a stereotype.
Alright, so conclusively, like I said before, reiterating it, media is segmenting people and grouping them in very rigid segments, when in reality that's not the case.
Yes.
So really solid points, guys. Now let's move on to our take on the film Code. I'm sure that all of us watched it in class.
Yeah.
So, what do you think stands out?
I guess the main focus, there are 2-3 points about court. One, that it focuses on a societal issue at a much deeper level. It talks about Narayan Kamre, who is a Dalit folk singer and gets arrested on what basis? Completely absurd. Doesn't get justice. Why? Because he comes from a Dalit caste. And if we were to get, yeah, I mean, that is the major 2 points that are there about the film code. Yeah, that I noticed.
Yeah, and the lawyer who's fighting with Vasudha.
Yeah, also.
Yeah. So I personally approached her. I don't think that she fought for him.
Okay.
Like she did not even try. Because she looked at Amrali, she looked at the situation going on, she said, you won't get justice.
Right.
She was just like, you won't get. She did not even put her best foot forward and was like, okay, I'll fight for you and do this. Because if your reality is comfortable, it justice just seems like an issue. But if it's your life, it's like a trap you're living in.
It's a bigger problem.
It's a bigger problem.
You don't get it. Like she will never experience.
She will
The
die.
lives of this man.
Yeah, and just one last thing that I noticed about Code was that it was a very difficult film to watch because it was so slow. It was very different from a typical Bollywood film that was so fast happening, but here the scenes were so slow, each scene felt prolonged, sometimes shots were longer, and also the storyline wise, you do not get a conclusion in the end. It still leaves you hanging.
But at least that like shows the real code.
Exactly.
That it will take a long time. It is never ending.
Parallel to the real code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like courtrooms are just monologues, stuff, and the judge is just like
Order.
order. Yeah, exactly.
I think Court is one such movie that depicts a courtroom very accurately, and that's the reality of courtrooms. It's not Tariq pe Tariq.
That's
it's
why
not,
it stands out.
yeah, it's not like Jolly LLP2 either, where there is a question.
You're bringing
Yeah.
a suspect just like that without any prior
Exactly.
notice. You can't do that.
Although even if you do, there is no such hard questioning that is done. Like in real life, I think.
Makes sense. So to conclude all of your points, you think that one company didn't get justice because at the end of the day, in our society comes from a backward background, and how quickly you get justice depends on your social status in India, unfortunately. And the second point, right, even money, exactly, which at the end of the day comes from your social standing. And the second point that all of you are putting forward is that Court, the movie, depicts court proceedings as proceedings and not just as courtroom dramas. So another question I would like to put forward for you guys is, so do you think we need more movies like Court which are hard to watch and lesser courtroom dramas? Because at the end of the day, like if we're trying to post something to mass media, do we not have to put it up in like a covering of mass media and present it as something that's interesting so people consume it, or do we need the slow burn?
First thing is like Code is extremely surfing to watch, and as per the discussions of the class, if there is one thing, the film was not made for the mass media. So that's why it is difficult for mass media consumers to watch. So if you are trying to make something similar for mass media, consumers, then you would need to slightly add a bit more of masala while trying to ensure that.
To entertain the audience.
Yeah, you need to have it.
If I had a very long week on Friday, I would rather go watch an Akshay Kumar comedy than talk about social standing and all of that. With that, I think that opinion also comes from viewer privilege. Because I have never faced anything like that.
And that's what does fiction. But there should also be the real representation of what's
Court
going
movies
on.
like Court should be there for the people who want to watch it.
Okay, so interesting point put forward by Sarah. She said that it comes from a point of privilege that she chooses to not look at the real issues and maybe find a sort of escape in cinema. But don't you think, say, a man who's been working at a coal factory, a coal mill the whole day, would he not come and choose Pushpa over Interstellar because he just wishes to escape? So maybe it doesn't come from a point of privilege. What do you think?
It doesn't, but then again, movies like Court, if you wanted to like if you want to put the social message out there, for mass media you have to make it creative. Like Barbie, it was so creative and put out a message. But then again, we watched it because when I was going to watch Barbie, I thought it was just going to be like the Barbies movies I have seen before. I did not expect that level of mirror in the society.
Right.
But
So
anyway, if you can make something like that, definitely everyone is going to watch it.
What I feel is, like this entire movie is a huge vicious cycle where you want to cater to the audience with morality and movies like code, but then at the end of the day, the people are not choosing to watch these films.
Yeah,
And
they
they
don't
choose
get commercial
Pushpa
success.
over
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I think
Exactly.
it's in our DNA to want happy endings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
who doesn't have that?
Trained
So
on
if
it.
you go watch it,
Yeah.
it's like the mind will go in a random like, oh my god, this is
Exactly.
really happening. What are we doing? Where are we living?
Because
It makes you uncomfortable
Yeah.
at
It
the
makes
end
you
of the day.
uncomfortable.
And nobody wants to
Nobody,
willingly
yeah.
pay and feel uncomfortable
Uncomfortable.
when we have the reality of being uncomfortable
Yeah,
already.
even in our
Delusion.
Vedic stories and everything, there has been a happy ending. So I think it's in our DNA in this movie.
It's been taught to us through generations that
To what
a good story is the one that ends with a happy ending.
कि अगर तुम्हारी कहानी खत्म नहीं हुई है तो अभी तक
Like
मतलब
say,
बची है.
पानी को भला तो सब भला.
Exactly. And also, if it's not a good ending, then it's not an ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's more to it. Maybe.
Yeah. And we just waited the hope that abhi kuch acha hoga, abhi kuch acha hoga.
That he finally get justice.
Even I spoke to a few of my friends and we were talking about adolescence.
Right.
And many people felt that during the fourth episode, it kind of brought it down. Like the third episode was a peak, and then everything came down. But then I feel that was needed, because it was basically showing all the four aspects of Jamie's life, where he got arrested,
His school.
his school, and then
His life in jail.
no, his interrogation,
Yeah.
not his counseling,
And
and his family. It showed all of it. So I feel it was a good movie, but many people didn't like. It was a good series, but many people didn't like because it didn't meet their expectations.
Yeah.
A lot of people called it boring, but
Yeah.
I did not.
I did not.
it's not boring. It's supposed to make you think.
Yeah.
About the manosphere and how it is affecting.
Exactly. And also being a part of internet as we are in our age, we have seen men like Jamie, boys like Jamie.
Yeah.
We've actually conversed with them. I can think of so many boys in my school that actually spoke like Jamie, who have said things like Jamie. And in that moment, to be very honest with you, even me as a 12-year-old girl thought, okay, maybe this is just how it is.
Boys are boys.
Let it pass. But it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Like at 12 years old, I shouldn't be getting attention for developing earlier than other girls.
Every time you let it pass, it keeps passing on to generations.
Exactly.
That's why we should
We need
stop.
to end this cycle somewhere where our traumas are not passed on to the next generations.
Yeah, but like also the manosphere part of it, we are actually cultivating boys like this. Like I have met so many people when Andrew Tate was getting famous, they're like, oh my god, such a nice man.
Exactly.
And then they get echo chambers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Again and again.
Exactly. Alright guys, so really great points. Now let's move forward to talk about one of the controversies that has really taken the internet by a storm, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Let's get to India's Got Talent controversy. So, what do we think about it?
So I'd like to start with it. So first of all, we all know that India's Got Talent is behind a paywall. So if it is behind a paywall, people are paying for the content they're viewing. That means they're giving their consent, they're willingly watching it. They should know what kind of content they're consuming. That's why this shouldn't come as a shock. And it wasn't like this was the first few episodes when the audience didn't know that this something like this is gonna come their way.
And
But-
people who have watched Sameerana before, they know what kind of
Yes.
comedy they were getting
Yes.
into.
Exactly.
If they knew what door they're opening, they should know that this is what's gonna come out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of blaming the comedian and pressurizing him into feeling that he has done something wrong and that's why this is gonna reflect poorly on the society. Maybe he did, but you can't blame him for that. You should blame the society for it.
Yeah, the point behind the paywall, the people were not talking about behind the paywall, but they were talking about this is being shown on reels. But it wasn't Sameerana who was filming it.
Yeah.
There were people who were clipping his video, putting subway surfers below it, and then they
Yeah, it
were
got
Exactly.
to a larger audience and not just Samir.
Not by Samir.
Exactly.
Now he can't make sure that nobody else is sharing
Using his
it or
content.
using his content.
I guess the main thing to focus on is the fact that the mainstream media and the Supreme Court is covering this issue. Why?
Exactly.
That's
I mean, I think
see, I mean that I'm sorry, but if it is something that would raise backlash because the audience is somewhere not ready for it. So if it gets backlash on
The
Twitter,
mass
things like
audience,
that,
it's
it's
fine.
fine. But it does not need national attention and it can be for once pondered upon why even the government and the mainstream media is covering it.
I agree what you said. Like the joke which Ranveer Alawadya said. I know it is wrong for the Indian media, that it is too much to consume for Indian media. But as Sarah and Vardhan said, that it's behind the table.
Yeah.
We are paying it and then we are willing to watch it.
Right.
So that is the thing.
And that joke was like a Reddit joke from 9 years ago.
yeah.
It was a Reddit 9 years ago, but like, yeah.
Also, when Mahim
Mahim saying the comment.
Yeah. So when he came to the episode, he also said something. Also, Rajan said something. When she said, "Mummy kaisi hai?" Isn't it offensive to Indian audience?
Exactly.
It is offensive, but people, that how she said, like it got famous on Reels and then it got to a larger audience. It was really unnecessary because there is so much more happening and you want to focus on this stupid joke that does not even make
Exactly.
sense.
Like, to pose a question to you, don't you think it's sort of convenient that it was Ranveer Alawadya who got stuck in this when he is the person who has met Jay Shankar and had him on his podcast and everything?
Yes.
When he's someone who has spoken to a lot of people associated with the BJP, one. And two, this happened when presidential rule was put up in Manipur, as far as I remember. So, don't you think it's a little bit convenient?
Also that, and also the fact that Ranveer is a more of a spiritual podcaster who portrays himself like, मैं तो बात हूँ. And then this type of words coming out of his mouth, it's very different.
Basically,
Because even I wasn't expecting it. When I watched that episode, I'm like, yo,
yeah.
you are saying this, what?
Ranveer Alawadya was the scapegoat for the government to cover up all major societal issues that were happening, and well, we fell for the trap once again.
So, do you guys think that comedy should be completely uncensored? Just to like conclude this, should it be completely uncensored, or do we start issuing government-approved humor certificates?
It wasn't just about the comedy. If you have seen the arrest, even they took the editor also. What did he do?
Recently, the Kunal Kamra controversy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how people cannot
Take a joke.
Yeah, it's just all of it was just a joke. Also, I think the government and everything else, the police, I think they have better issues to cover up rather than this. Because it is just a joke.
So, comedians are just just public who are speaking out their voices in the form of humor. They are just expressing their issues, and just because someone found it offensive, it doesn't make it is a democracy after all, and it doesn't make it right for them to pin a strict action.
I get that, but what I feel somewhere is, although this content is like with our consent and all of that, sometimes these clips, these reels get to kids, the younger generation, and they don't take it as a joke. They take it in the other way around, and maybe that is somewhere they start to
That is something
misunderstand.
which
again,
should
just-
have.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why we should have a barrier, but mature people like us or adults, I think they should take it as a joke. It's for the kids that they shouldn't be exposed to things at such a young age.
Again, I think Trent did take some steps to do that, introducing a paywall when
Yeah, exactly.
he made sure that okay, this is for an 18+ audience.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I'm sorry, I meant some.
Yeah.
He did put up a paywall.
yeah.
But then again, these the viral clips that went out on Instagram, on YouTube, And kids don't have to pay for, like, they don't have paywalls there, right? It's open to everyone.
The shorts,
Fair,
they
fair.
don't.
Exactly, that is
So
just-
maybe the content should be more restricted. Like if a content is restricted, it should stay restricted.
Yeah.
So we're going to conclude on that because we happen to be running out of time since this discussion is so alive. So now let's just have like a one-liner conclusive point on what you think, one thing media should do better, but keep it limited to one line only, and nobody gets to contribute on each other's points. Let's start with Shashi.
Stop making the villain dark skinned and the hero fair.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Fair.
Yeah.
I would like something more real from the media, so more realistic representation, competition, and more realistic movies, ads, etc.
Fair.
I would like the media to take a joke as a joke.
Hmm.
And also while making sure that it doesn't affect the younger generations.
Right.
Yeah, and I think they should make ads about actual empowerment, not just ये लगा लो बुरी हो जाओगे.
Fair.
Separate truth from drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think we should stop making sequels. Unless
Anwar, please stop. Please stop. Yes.
Yeah,
my friends were done.
I feel women should be written with more depth, more personality, more growth, and stop making love ads just because Kareena Kapoor was
Nahari
Yeah.
Why she was Nahari?
Yeah. Give more personality.
She's already Nahari.
So thank you so much for that very fruitful 25 to 30 minutes of discussion. It was an honor. It was an honor to be your moderator for this, and I hope that the viewers enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.